Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are talking about one of the most daunting projects in all of IT, server migration. It feels like a massive high-stakes operation, and it is. But here's the thing, with the right roadmap, it's a challenge you can absolutely nail. I mean, just think about it for a second. Your entire company, everything from how you sell, to how you operate, to how you talk to your customers, it all runs on this incredibly complex digital engine. It's the powerhouse that keeps the whole business moving. So that's the real question, isn't it? A server migration is essentially trying to do a complete engine transplant on that car while it's still rocketing down the highway. It is incredibly intricate, the stakes are super high, and you have to get it just right. To help us navigate this, we're not going in blind. We're going to lean on an expert guide. This whole explainer is built around a really detailed report from Virtualization Options LLC, a Colorado-based technology research, education, and advisory organization. They've mapped out the entire journey, so let's dive into their blueprint. So first things first, why on earth would any sane business try this high-speed engine swap to begin with? Well, Section 1 of our guide breaks down the very powerful reasons why. And according to the research, it really boils down to 4 huge drivers. And notice, this isn't just about getting cool new technology. It's about real business outcomes. Making the company cheaper to run, making it faster and more scalable, locking down security, and becoming way more flexible for whatever the future throws at you. Okay, and right up front, there's a key term we've got to get our heads around: live migration. You can think of this as the magic trick that makes the whole thing possible. It's how you move a running system, an active application, from one piece of hardware to another without the user on the other end even knowing it happened. It's how you keep that car at 100 miles per hour. All right, now we're getting to what might be the single most critical part of this entire process. Section 2 is all about the blueprint for success. It's the planning, you know? If you get this part right, you're setting yourself up for a win. But if you get it wrong, the whole project could be in jeopardy. And hey, don't just take my word for it. The experts at Virtualization Options LLC, the ones who wrote our guide, they put it very bluntly. They say that skipping or even just rushing this assessment phase is the #1 reason these migrations fail. Period. It's where things go off the rails. So what does not rushing actually look like? Are we talking about a few days of prep? No way. The report recommends you collect detailed performance data for at least 30 days. You need to know your environment inside and out, every peak, every quiet moment, every hidden dependency before you even dream of moving anything. The guide organizes this deep dive into 4 essential pillars. You got to profile your workloads. You have to analyze all the underlying infrastructure, storage, network, all of it. Then you review your operational tools like backups and monitoring. And, maybe most importantly, you have to engage every single stakeholder to get their buy-in and make sure everyone knows their role. And that stakeholder part, it can't be an afterthought. This isn't just one email blast. As you can see, it requires a rock-solid communication plan. It's a carefully orchestrated series of updates that starts months in advance, all designed to build confidence and make sure there are absolutely no surprises. All right, the blueprint is solid. The communication plan is in Notion. Now it's time to actually run the gauntlet. Section 3 is all about the execution phase, where all that meticulous planning gets put to the ultimate test. Now, here's some really encouraging news from the research. For the vast majority of your systems, we're talking a solid 70 to 80%, they're probably going to migrate pretty smoothly, just following your standard process. That's a huge confidence booster, right? But, and this is a huge but, for that trickier 20 to 30% that do cause problems, look at this. A massive chunk of those issues, 40% of them, are all related to the network. This perfectly highlights what the report calls the single most underestimated part of any migration. It's the network, folks. So this brings you to a fundamental choice. For every system you move, you've got 2 main paths. You can do that live migration we talked about. It's complex, but you get almost 0 downtime. Or you can do a cold migration, which means you schedule an outage, turn the system off, and move it. It's way simpler and more reliable, but you have to plan for that downtime. It's a critical trade-off. And it's not just the network. Moving all that data puts a huge strain on your storage. The guide lays out this really smart, choreographed dance to manage it. You do the first big data copy during off hours, when nobody will notice. Then, you do a few smaller syncs to catch up on any changes. And right before the final switch, you freeze all changes to make sure the cutover is perfectly clean. So, to put a bow on this execution phase, the research points out 4 massive landmines you absolutely have to avoid. Skimping on that workload profiling we talked about, underestimating your storage and network complexity, and this last one is huge, going in without a detailed, tested, ready-to-go rollback plan in case things go south. Okay, you did it. The last server is moved over, the technical work is done, time to pop the champagne, right? Well, not so fast. The job isn't truly over. Section 4 shows us that getting across the finish line is really just the beginning of the validation and optimization phase. Now you have to prove that it all actually worked. This checklist is your guide. Yeah, you confirm things boot up, but that's table stakes. You have to test every connection, validate every dependency, and most importantly, you go back to the business owners and have them confirm their apps are working perfectly. And you compare the new performance against those baselines you took before you started. And that really brings us to the big picture idea here. A migration is so much more than just moving from point A to point B. It is this rare golden opportunity to clean house, to optimize everything, and to build an infrastructure that's not just ready for today, but for whatever comes next. And the payoff for getting it right? Oh, it is real. The report highlights that companies who move to a modern cloud-ready platform can see infrastructure costs drop by up to 40%. And they can roll out new services and applications over 60% faster. That's the kind of business value that makes this whole gauntlet worth running. And that leaves us with one last thought to chew on. You've done it. You've successfully swapped the engine while the car was at full speed. Your new infrastructure is humming. But in a world where things like containers and AI are changing the entire game, is your brand new engine truly ready for the race that's just about to begin?